What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. Okay, so I've been thinking about this for the last few days or so, and after having seen Deadpool 2, I feel like they're gonna bring Hope Summers in Deadpool 3, X-Force, whatever you want to call it, and if they do, Hope is gonna decimate all. Dude, it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's man, dude, Hope Summers is so overpowered. It's not even funny. Like the daughter of Cable. She's not really even the daughter of Cable. I mean, they could do that in the Deadpool movie. That's fine. If you guys know what I'm talking about, that's fine. If you don't, it's whatever. But like the movie outperformed Infinity War, so I figure people who were gonna see it, the people who really don't want to have it spoiled, they would have seen it by now. So I'm looking at this and I'm just like, dude, Hope Summer. I mean, it's crazy. It's not okay. So it's like 2004, right? Like wind the clock back. All right, wind the clock back 14 years. It's 2004, and like Joe Quesada's editor in chief at Marvel, right? Like he came on in early 2000s, really in like around 2000, 2001, something like that. And he's like, okay, so like everything you guys have been doing for like the last 20 years is bad because you guys almost bankrupted the entirety of your company because of all the stuff you were doing. So like what we're gonna do is we're gonna not do that stuff, and then we're gonna do new stuff so that we don't destroy the entirety of Marvel Comics. Because Disney didn't own Marvel at that point. Marvel was just free floating. It was like if Marvel went bankrupt, like there'd be nothing. That's why they sold off the movie rights. Like they were barely trying to stay afloat. And so Quesada comes in. This is after Ike Perlmutter and Toy Biz buy out Marvel and they start like financing it. So they're like, okay, we're gonna dump money into Marvel and we're gonna get you guys afloat. Joe Quesada comes in and he takes care of the comic book side, right? Like you got Kevin Feige and Avi Arad and all those guys who were taking care of the Marvel Cinematic Universe side, because the MCU was like 6 or 7 years in the making. It didn't just pop up like a year before Iron Man came out. It'd been around for a little while. But like Quesada's like, okay, so like we need to basically just rework the entirety of Marvel Comics. Like we're just gonna basically start over again. So he looks around and he says stuff like, okay, the Avengers as they exist now are boring. Get rid of them. So like we have Avengers disassembled, where like the Avengers break up, they disband. And then you get new Avengers, which is like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain America, basically the cool characters, the characters that like you know and love. And it would be fun to see them on an Avengers team. So the other thing that Joe Quesada did is he looked around and he said, okay, so like there's too many mutants right now. Like there's way too many mutants. Like we have characters like Unus the Untouchable, who's actually the crappiest mutant ever. Unus the Untouchable was a guy who had the ability to create a force field around himself. And I cannot remember exactly what happened, but somehow he lost control of his powers and suffocated inside of his own force field. Crappiest hero ever. Like he wasn't really a hero, he was a villain. Crappiest mutant ever. Like Unus the Untouchable, I mean, I guess he was untouchable. Like he was untouchable by oxygen. Oxygen couldn't touch him. He was a really crappy guy. Okay, so Quesada sits down and says like we have to rework the entirety of Marvel Comics, right? Like we have to rework this whole thing. So like we're gonna reduce the mutant population. So you have an event called House of M, which actually follows Avengers Disassembled, where the Scarlet Witch goes crazy, right? Like Scarlet Witch goes nuts, and she's convinced that like the Avengers have hidden her children from her. They kind of exist, they kind of don't, whatever. But anyway, like she goes on a warpath, right? Like at this point, she's like channeling the power of Chthon, who's like this ancient elder god from like Earth in the Marvel Comics, and he's just got like these crazy powers. He has chaos magic, which technically shouldn't exist. Like Doctor Strange is like, there's no such thing as chaos magic. It's like, yeah, but there is though, because Scarlet Witch is using it right now. So like it gets kind of crazy when you get into that whole thing. And so like she just starts going berserk, right? Like she uses her powers to like make Tony Stark appear drunk in front of the United Nations. Like support for Stark Industries plummet. Like shareholders start backing out, and Tony Stark's like, hey guys, I can't back the Avengers anymore. Sorry about your luck. Peace. And like bails. So he takes off. So Captain America's like, well, if we don't have no money, then we ain't got no game. So like they break up. They're like, well, I mean, you know, because if the money ain't there, then I guess it's just the way it goes. So they split up, right? Like so the Avengers disband, and then like Charles Xavier, at the request of Magneto, goes to the mutant island of Genosha, which used to be a place where mutants hung out until Cassandra Nova sent Sentinels there and wiped out 16 million, like all 16 million mutants who lived there, with the exception of like a handful, like 2 mutants survived. Like one was Emma Frost, whose second power of like turning into diamond form manifested, and I think the other was Magneto. But like, dude, it was insane. Like they're just walking through the island, just like blasting everything they see, and it's just like, damn, like it's an absolute massacre. So what you have is you have Charles Xavier working on trying to fix the mind of Scarlet Witch because it's so broken and fractured. Well, then like a whole like crazy stuff starts happening. Xavier calls like all the Avengers and all the like everyone who's ever been an X-Man, calls them all to Genosha, and he's like, so like we have to kill Scarlet Witch, and they're like, what? Or not yeah, they're like, we have to kill Scarlet Witch, and they're like, what? Like, what do you mean we have to kill Scarlet Witch? Like, that's not okay, bro. And Xavier's like, I know that, man. Like, I know it's not okay to just run around killing folks. Like, everybody's kind of debating on whether or not they should. And so then like Xavier vanishes out of thin air, right? Like people are like, where the hell's Xavier? Like just disappears like a fart in the wind. He's just gone. And so people are just like, what the hell's going on? So like, we got to go find Charles Xavier. So they all start hunting for Xavier, and one by one, they all start vanishing. They all start disappearing. All right, like Spider-Man's the last one left, and he's like, guys, like my spider sense is not tingling at all, so I have no idea what the hell's happening. And then there's just like a bright light and he's gone. Everybody wakes up in the House of M, which is basically this universe where everybody gets everything they want. And so you end up finding out that the Scarlet Witch was the one who did that. And it's like, dude, it's like the most badass scene when they all find out. Because like, dude, it's so beast. This is why this needs to be a movie, right? So like everybody thinks Magneto is the one that got Scarlet Witch to do this because she's the daughter of Magneto. And like, so it's, Quicksilver's the son of Magneto. Well, then you end up finding out it was Quicksilver who got Scarlet Witch to do it. That Quicksilver went to Scarlet Witch and was like, you can fix everything and you can make everything okay. And she's like, okay. And then like uses her powers and goes nuts. And so like, dude, like Magneto finds out what Quicksilver did. It's like the most badass scene ever. Magneto comes out, he's like, what have you done in my name, boy? And like freaks out on him and like kills him. Like, dude, Magneto kills like he kills Quicksilver. Like takes this giant like thing and just sends it like flying down. He's like, bah, 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 like just starts smashing him. Like, dude, it's like the most insane thing ever. And so like Scarlet Witch freaks out. She's like, oh, you killed Quicksilver, and like resurrects him from the dead because whatever. And so like Quicksilver comes back to life, and like Doctor Strange is like, doing his little hand gesture things, and he's like, Scarlet Witch, you have to fix things, you have to set them back. And so Scarlet Witch is like, okay, fine. And then right before she right before she sets things back, she says, no more mutants. And so like everything goes back to normal, but 98% of the mutant population have lost their powers. And it's just like, holy hell, dude, it's pandemonium, right? Like after that came a story called Decimation, and it's crazy. Like Emma Frost wakes up in the X-Men mansion, and kids are like screaming, it's like, dude, it's like what's his name from The Godfather when he wakes up with a horse's head in his bed. He's just like, dude, it's like the craziest thing. So kids are freaking out and panicking. Wolverine wakes up and all of his memories are back, and it's just like, dude, he goes on dude, after Wolverine's memories come back, he's like, okay, so like I have a list here of all the people who have screwed me over, and like they're all gonna die. And like, dude, he goes on like this crazy warpath. It's like the coolest thing ever. Like S.H.I.E.L.D. can't stop him. Like S.H.I.E.L.D.'s always like 3 steps behind. They're like, yeah, so we found out where Wolverine was going. It's like, well, where's he going? The place he just left. Like, dude, it's the craziest thing. Like it's so awesome. Like when you have that whole thing going on. So anyway, like 98% of the mutant population loses their powers, right? And like Xavier's gone, then he comes back, and like Cyclops is like, you can't lead the X-Men team anymore because you're old, and like I'm gonna lead the X-Men team now, old man. And so like Cyclops is running the whole show. All right. Well, then you have this whole thing that goes on where like they're using Cerebra or something like that. Like Xavier or somebody's using it to try to detect more mutant signals, and he's just like, starts freaking out because there's like this energy, like this mutant that's been born, and it just blows up the Richter scale of like the mutant detection, Cerebra. And Xavier's like, go find that kid now. Like I don't know who that kid is, but go find that kid. So everybody takes off to Anchorage, Alaska, right? Like the X-Men all take off. They're like, okay, let's go find this kid. So they all take off to Anchorage, Alaska, right? They get there and it's just like a war zone, right? Like everything in Anchorage, Alaska is just like torn to pieces. Like it's all on fire and burning. And there's like purifiers there, and there's like marauders there. And the X-Men are like, what in the hell's going on? Like we literally land here, and it's like, dude, it's like landing in Eastern Europe during World War II. Like it's insane. And so like what you end up finding out, of course, the purifiers are basically this group that thinks God wants them to kill mutants. And dude, they're hardcore. Dude, they're hardcore. They're led by William Stryker. William Stryker sucked in the X-Men movies. He's like one of the greatest villains ever in the history of Marvel. In Fox's defense, though, if they had released an X-Men movie in the United States, where you have like a crazy evangelical guy who thinks God wants him to kill mutants, dude, the Christians would start freaking out. And then you have the Marauders, who were the people who were ran by Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister, who just kind of carry out his bidding. The roster changes, and like Gambit was part of the Marauders at that point in time, because whatever, Marvel had no idea what to do with this character, so they're like, just shuffle him back off to the Marauders again, just send him back off to the Marauders. So like, he goes back over there. So like, the X-Men are looking around and they're like, what the heck? But like, they can't find the baby anywhere. Come to find out, when Cyclops took over the X-Men, he was becoming more and more extreme and militant. And so like, Cable reappears from the future and like takes the baby and disappears into the time stream, right? And so it's just like, dude, everything's going nuts, it's actually going awry. And so like Cable's hopping around. Eventually the Marauders catch up with him, they kidnap the baby. Cable contacts Xavier and is like, hey man, you gotta help me out. So like, the X-Men go, they fight the Marauders, Cable gets the baby, or Xavier gives the baby to Cable and says, jump into the time stream, like get out of here, because like this baby's the mutant messiah and it'll like bring our mutant population back. And so Cable takes the baby and jumps into the time stream, right? Well, then you end up finding out that this kid, Hope Summers, is gonna grow up, and there's gonna be two possible futures. One where it becomes a messiah, and another one where it becomes like just like this insane, just like an insane killer. What happens is you have something called the 6-second war, and in 6 seconds, Hope Summers like annihilates 1 million humans, and like from there it basically kicks off Days of Future Past. Now the difference is that in that future, which is actually the future that belongs to a guy named Lucas Bishop, what ends up happening is humans and mutants band together in something called the Summers Rebellion. And what that basically leads to is humans and mutants casting off the Sentinels, and then you have the Xavier Security Enforcers, which is basically a mutant police force designed to police mutants that's named after Charles Xavier, kind of like that future's version of the X-Men, but not really. And then there's crazy stuff like Trevor Fitzroy jumps back in the past and tries to screw things up. It turns into 1990s comics and it gets bonkers. I always thought Trevor Fitzroy was kind of cool. He could create portals and then Bantam had to close them. It was kind of crazy when you get into that whole thing. But still, like it's wild, because Hope Summers is just like this ridiculously overpowered character. Dude, she is so OP. Hope Summers has the power to copy the powers of other people, and there's no limit. There's no limit to the powers that she can copy. She can infinitely, like think Protege. But the difference between like Hope Summers and Protege is like Hope Summers never became equal to like the Living Tribunal and tried to like destroy everything. But it's crazy. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. But nonetheless, dude, if Hope, okay, let me tell you something. Dude, if Hope Summers, like, let's say Hope Summers shows up, right? Like, she's like a full-grown woman, and Hope Summers shows up, because she's not really the daughter of Cable, she's kind of like the adopted daughter or whatever. Like, she shows up, and she was like, oh man, like, things are worse now because of whatever happened in Deadpool 2. So, like, she shows up as like a villain, right? Man, let me tell you something. Dude, the X-Men and X-Men, they will not be prepared. There's no way they can stand, like, not a chance. There's no way the X-Men and X-Force could possibly stand a chance against Hope Summers. No way, because she would basically just duplicate everybody's powers, right? Like, she would be like, okay, I have the telepathy of Charles Xavier, and I've got the healing factor of Deadpool, and I've got the power of this person and the power of that person. I've got the optic beams of Cyclops and the shape-shifting ability of Mystique, and like the ability to just kind of jump around like Beast, and I can do whatever Rogue can do in whichever one of the movies she happens to be in, and like I can basically do everything. Like, I am the Swiss Army knife of the mutant world, and like, you're all gonna die. Done, and like, that's it. Like, that there's no fight there. There's no conflict there. Now, inevitably, Fox will probably find a way to screw it up. So, I mean, that's Fox's MO, right? Like, Fox is like, let's take this thing, and then the overarching goal with this thing is to screw it up. Anything that's not Deadpool, we have to screw it up, because like, that's what we do. So like, Fox will inevitably mess it up. But man, if they don't, man, dude, Hope Summers will, dude, she'll decimate all. The only way I think they could possibly introduce someone who could overcome Hope Summers might, and this is a might, could possibly be Strife, like the evil clone of Cable. That's the only way I could possibly see that happening. And even then, there's no guarantee. Like, even then, there's no absolute guarantee that would happen. Strife's powerful. He can just shut off people's powers. He's powerful, but like, he's I don't know, man. Like, Hope Summers, like, at full power, channeling all the abilities of the X-Men into herself, I don't know, man. Like, it would be insane. Like, it would be bonkers. But I don't know. I mean, this is just my theory here. Bringing in Hope Summers, man, that's how you reboot the Deadpool universe. That's what that is. Like, man, you guys thought like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet's powerful? It's powerful. Like, in the Marvel universe, it's powerful. But like in the Deadpool movies, Hope Summers with like all the powers of anyone she happens to come across, like anyone whose power she sees used. Not only that, she's a vessel for the Phoenix Force. That is a, hey guys, we're gonna reboot the entirety of like the Deadpool series so we can integrate into the MCU, and we're gonna do that by bringing in Hope. But again, I don't know. I mean, like Strife with Extinction, or not Extinction, Strife with Executioner Song could probably do it too. Like, dude, Strife is so OP. Dude, that guy. Dude, Strife is a wrecking machine. Like, it is nuts how powerful that guy is. The dude shut off the powers of Jean Grey. Just shut him off. He was like, and you're done. Like, you are now a regular person, so go do regular people things. Go grocery shopping and go binge watch stuff on Netflix, you know, and watch The View in the morning because you're probably the only one. Like, I mean, it'd be insane. I'm just saying, stuff like this gets me so excited. I'm just saying because it's like, I love seeing crazy displays of power, right? Like, I love seeing insane displays of power. It'd be awesome to see. Like, it'd be insane. Oh, and then like imagine Hope Summers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Man, come on now. Like, come on now, man. Like, it'd be a sight to behold. Like, it would be it'd be amazing to see. Anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead and bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.